Hello boys and girls, are you ready for a story? Let's have a look in the big story bag. Oh, it's getting so heavy. Let's have a look. This is a great story. The Nutty Nut Chase by Kathryn White and Vanessa Caban. The Nutty Nut Chase by Kathryn White and Vanessa Caban. Hickory was making rude faces at Pekin when the strangest thing happened. A shiny brown nut suddenly burst up from the ground. It wobbled and shook, wibbled and quivered, then lay there, teasingly delicious. "Wow, lunch!" Pekin shouted. "Wow, lunch and dinner!" Hickory screeched. "It's my nut!" said Pekin. "No, it's my nut!" snapped Hickory.
"Who's making all that noise?" shouted Badger. "I'm trying to sleep."
All of the animals came out to see what was happening. "My nut!" Pekin shouted. "No, it's mine!" yelled Hickory. "I saw it first!" "You did not!" "I did so!" "Box his ears!" shouted Littlest Rabbit.
"Certainly not! Boxing ears doesn't solve problems," said Badger firmly.
"Oh!" said Littlest Rabbit, disappointed. "Then just bop his nose."
"No boxing or bopping," said Badger. "There will be a competition, and the winner will get the nut."
"Oh, I know," said Hedgehog. "The prickliest wins the nut." "But you're the prickliest," said Pekin and Hickory. "Oh, so I am," said Hedgehog, delighted. "I win! I get the nut!" "Cuddliest gets the nut," said Littlest Rabbit. "I win!"
"Enough!" said Badger. "We will have a race. First to reach the post wins."
"Hooray! Hooray!" everyone cheered. Blackbird whistled to start the race. They were off! Pekin and Hickory shot ahead, but then Rabbit were close behind. Hedgehog tried to run, but only managed a waddle, and in a huff he curled himself into a ball and rolled full speed down the slope. Littlest Rabbit looked back to see a prickly ball spinning towards him. "Look out!" he called. Too late. Hedgehog crashed through the racers like a cannonball, and everyone landed in a prickly heap.
"Oh dear," tutted Badger. "We'll have to start all over again. And prickly cannonballs are not allowed."
Hedgehog snorted and sulked off. Blackbird whistled and they were off again. Pekin and Hickory were neck and neck. "My nut!" shouted Pekin triumphantly. "I win!" "No!" shouted Hickory. "It's mine! I win!" Suddenly, the nut began to move. It twitched and jerked, joggled and jiggled until, plop! It disappeared down under the ground. "Oh, it's a magic nut!" shouted Littlest Rabbit. "Nutty magic!" squealed Hedgehog, racing back to see. "Bet it would have tasted magic too," said Shrew. Pop! The nut sprang up, right in front of Shrew. "Quick, grab it!" shouted Littlest Rabbit. All the animals shot across the grass, rolling and shrieking, jumping and hopping, banging and bopping into each other. "I've got it!" shouted Hedgehog, but the nut vanished again. "That's my nose!" Shrew squealed. "Shh!" said Badger suddenly. "Look!" He pointed at the magic nut that had appeared at his feet. Everyone tiptoed up to it. The nut shook and quivered. The animals looked in amazement. "Help!" squealed the nut.
"Ah!" shrieked Little Rabbit. "A talking nut! You're a talking nut!" said Pekin.
Pekin and Hickory bent down and pulled and tugged and yanked and wrenched at the nut with all of their might. Pop! Out flew the nutshell, sending Pekin and Hickory rolling backwards, and there, where the nut had been, was Mole. Mole shook himself and stood up on his two tiny legs. "Thanks," he said. "I thought I would be stuck in that nutshell forever." Littlest Rabbit put the empty shell on his head. "Oh, it makes a great hat," he giggled. "That looked like the tastiest nut ever," groaned Pekin and Hickory. "Well, there's plenty more where that came from," chirped Mole, and he disappeared underground. Suddenly, shiny nuts began popping up all over the place. "There's enough for everyone," Mole chuckled. "Pop, pop, pop!" "Magic!" shouted Hickory. "Magic!" shouted Pekin. "Nutty magic!" everyone shouted, and they all munched with delight.